People buy from whom they know, like, and trust. And that's one of the many reasons why a salesperson will want to build their brand on LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about that on this episode of Closing Time. Thanks for tuning into Closing Time, the show for go-to-market leaders. My name is Chip House. I'm CMO at Insightly CRM, and I'm joined today, very excited about having Kyle Coleman, who's SVP of Marketing from Clary, which is a revenue platform that helps you monitor team performance. So welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, Chip. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to dig into this topic. I mean, here we are. It's kind of meta. Many people will see us on LinkedIn talking about this, but we're talking about building your brand, building your personal brand on LinkedIn. And it's something that I think you know a thing or two about. You've been at this for a period of time and you have over 100,000 followers. So I would just love to learn a bit more about your journey. I know that LinkedIn has also rated you a top voice as well. So I'd love to learn more about that program as well. Can you share that information with us?
Yeah, sure thing. So I super honored by LinkedIn a couple years back to be chosen as a top voice. I don't exactly know what the criteria are to be chosen as a top voice. I think it has something to do with post frequency and reach and things like that. And the company that I was in was certainly an honor. So very thankful and grateful for all of that. My approach to LinkedIn, Chip, and the reason that I started doing it was because I I genuinely love helping people. I know
Yeah.
that sounds pretty lame, but it really is true. And I started thinking about the impact that I was able to make at my previous role or my previous company, Looker. I had a team of about 70 SDRs. And then when I moved over to Clary, I downsized a bit, had a team of 5 SDRs. And as much fun as it was working with them, I was like, man, if I'm able to help all of these folks, how many more people could I help in a more broad based forum on LinkedIn? And so I started just all the common questions that I would get from the SDR team and all the programs and processes that we would create. I would basically just try and write it down and put it on LinkedIn and see if it helped people. And it seems to have. So things as foundational as how to write good emails, how to make good cold calls, all those sorts of things, to things a bit more philosophical about the mindset that you have to be successful in sales and the way you need to think about career development and everything in between. And so I'm really grateful that so many people seem to resonate with the lessons and the learnings that I try and share. And I genuinely enjoy doing it. It doesn't feel like a chore to me. So I intend to keep doing it as long as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what year did you actually start getting super active in LinkedIn then, Kyle?
January of 2020, right before the pandemic.
Okay. And do you know how many followers you had then?
I had 2,500.
Okay. Yeah. So you were like a typical person basically on LinkedIn with about 2,500 connections. That
Yeah,
makes that makes
I
sense.
had maybe written an article or two, posted every now and again, but had never really committed to doing it. And it was a bit of a slow burn. It took some time to gain some traction, but ultimately the benefits of it, I know we're going to talk about this later. The benefits are personal as well. I gain a lot of value in, sitting down, really thinking through concepts and then trying to crystallize them in a way that's digestible for folks. So it's mutually beneficial, and the forcing function of thinking and writing clearly has really helped me in my career.
Yeah, I think that's a super good point. We can just drill into it now because, posting may not be for everybody depending on
Yeah.
who your ICP is, right? And so, for example, we tend to sell Insightly to go-to-market teams, right? So the bulk of our intended audience is here on LinkedIn. So it makes sense for us to produce this kind of content. And so I assume you're approaching it sort of similarly.
Yeah.
And so when you sit down to write, like you said, it's a forcing function. You get your ideas out, get your thoughts out, which can be super helpful, especially for a salesperson, right?
Right. The way that I think about it, Chip, is there are, for me, and this is different for other folks, but for me, there are three main reasons to post on LinkedIn. One is to elevate the profession, elevate the sales profession, try and do away with some of the kind of shadier tactics and the things that people really shouldn't be doing that give salespeople a bad reputation. Help train people on the right way to do it to elevate the profession. So that's number one. Number two is recruiting. It's been amazing how many people or how much our recruiting funnel has been filled by people that have seen or interacted with my posts or whatever it may be. And it's not just SDRs, it's AEs, it's marketing people, it's engineers, it's product managers, it's all people that learn about Clary via the things that not just myself, but other members of our team put out on LinkedIn. And that's a pretty cool benefit. And then the third, and I think a pretty distant third, is selling. Like selling things on LinkedIn is not the main reason for doing things, but it's a nice byproduct because my target audience, Clary's target audience, is on LinkedIn. We sell to salespeople, we sell to marketing people. So it makes sense for myself and other Clarians to be active on LinkedIn because we're going to hopefully experience that tertiary benefit of actually building some demand. For people or companies whose target audience are not super active on LinkedIn, you may still be able to check boxes number 1 and number 2, and that's great. But if you expect to like build this healthy pipeline of deals and things like that, and your audience isn't there, you're tricking yourself, you're fooling yourself. And so you got to be mindful of that, be cognizant of that, and just make sure you're posting for the right reasons and setting the right goals.
Yeah, makes great sense actually. And so I think, what we talk about with our sales team is, hey, there's huge power in developing your personal brand on LinkedIn. And of course, we get the question, well, what do I post?
Right.
And so I know that in the last 24 hours, for example, you posted about, the top 4 books you've read recently, and some were sort of business oriented. One was about Kobe Bryant, I saw. And then, legacy, I know that you have a very popular post about your career path. So you're
Yeah.
sharing things both personal in addition to, trying to speak to your audience, right?
That's right. And the guidance that I try and give to people is post about things that either you have experience in and have a real meaningful point of view on and have proven success doing some things, tactics, ways of thinking, whatever it may be. So experience is hugely beneficial. And if you think about your own career, there are situations that you've been in that are interesting to people and you just need to tease them out and tell the story in a unique way. What's one thing that earlier in your career you learned from experience? What did you learn? How did you learn it? And why or how could it be helpful to other people? So leaning into your own experience and finding interesting points from your own career journey is this very deep well of content that you can try and pick from to have some sort of meaningful impact on social. So experience is one, and then the second is expertise, and the two are not necessarily the same thing. Expertise has more to do with how have you, it's more tactical maybe, but how have you found success in the past? What are the things that you have done or that you've seen other people do that you've worked with that are best practices that can or should be repeated, and why? Why are they? And is that different from what other people do? And so those are the two main veins that I try and tap with respect to my posts, things that I have genuine experience with or genuine expertise in. That way there's credibility and it's genuine and it's not me just kind of spouting off on things that I don't totally know or don't totally understand. So that's the way that I try and think about things. And then I would say maybe a third benefit and something that I am very lucky is I get to speak with some of the world's leading operators across revenue and marketing and product teams and the rest of it. So I'm constantly learning from these luminaries in the field, and I try and summarize their thoughts and share those thoughts and as best I can, and of course giving them full credit along the way. So that's maybe the third vein is like curating insights from other people who have experience or expertise in another forum and trying to share their thoughts a bit more publicly, of course giving them credit along the way. So those are kind of the ways. That's how I would recommend people start, is thinking through those two channels. And it's, I think, pretty easy to get on a roll if you're just kind of narrowing the scope of what you can or should be posting about.
But yeah, so for example, we've had Jay Bear on the program, and Jay talks about how you need to be authentic, number one, but people do business with people they want to engage with, people that are human, people that are authentic like that. And so it may be your hobby that might be more interesting to people. In the case of Jay Bear, right? He talks about marketing and customer success and customer experience, but he also talks about tequila, and so that I think that's super interesting. I on the side, I'm a drummer, and so I've talked a little bit about drums, but I don't think the bulk of the audience wants to hear about me talk about drumming. But I think there actually are some ties in to what I do day to day. But so an individual sales rep, as they're building their brand, they want to think about, if I'm kind of restating what you said, what problems do they know about? Do they have passion about? Or what things do they know about and have passion about? And then, as in addition to, where does that sort of coincide with their target audience? Correct.
That's exactly right. And if you can find that middle ground, like a lot of folks, Chip, for whatever reason, just like you just said about drumming, you trick yourself into thinking that people won't find it interesting. I'm just a drummer, or I'm
Hmm.
just an AE, or I'm just an SDR, or whatever it may be, and you make excuses for yourself to not sit down and really think about what do you know and how can you apply that and be helpful to other people. Like you're just basically creating excuses for yourself to not do it, as opposed to saying, man, I just went through a 700-day sales cycle, an enterprise deal. Let me think back over the last 2 years. What did I learn? And how can I summarize those 2 years into, 1,000 characters? That's a hard task. And I guarantee it's, again, mutually beneficial. If you sit down and you do that and you write through the main obstacles that you faced, how you overcame those obstacles, how you got the deal across the line, and you tell that deal story, you're going to be helping yourself because you're going to be better suited for the next time this comes around. And you're going to be genuinely interesting to a lot of people that are going through something very similar right now. So there are a million reasons that you could always trick yourself into not sitting down and doing something. But just know that the things that you do know and the things that you care about are interesting to other people and are applicable to other people. You just have to tell the story well.
I mean, what you just said there, Kyle, it's a forcing function, and it's a way to get your thoughts out on paper. And it's interesting to me how important writing as a skill has become for
Yeah.
salespeople. It always been, I think, has been important for marketing people, but it's just emerging, whether it's cadences or now, social engagement, where writing is a critical skill to have as a salesperson. And so, how do you guide a salesperson? Should they put time on their calendar and do it every day? Or, in addition to posting, what else can they do?
You're totally right, Chip. Writing is critical, and clear writing is clear thinking. And so this act of writing is to make you a better communicator and make you a better thinker. It's really, really important. I can't stress enough how beneficial this journaling or social journaling or whatever you want to call it has been for me to crystallize thoughts and become a better communicator. And a lot of salespeople know that this is true through the lens of verbal storytelling. A lot of sales training has to do with how can I be a better storyteller, whether it's in a demo circumstance or asking the right discovery questions or whatever it may be. And there's a lot of focus on verbal communication. There should be and has to be in this digital age as much of a focus for sellers on written communication. And there's no shortcut here. There's no secret sauce. Like you can't go to Chat GPT and it's not going to make you a better writer. The writing that comes out of AI bots right now, anyway, is garbage. So you can't just rely on
Right.
that. You need to genuinely practice. So there's, again, no shortcut. You have to read a lot and you have to write a lot, and that's it. And you have to get feedback from people and really be critical. Am I communicating clearly, effectively? Don't just sit down, write for 10 minutes and then post that thing on LinkedIn. The way that I work is I write a draft and then I spend a lot more time editing and wordsmithing and looking at how does it look? How does it sound? Is there a good rhythm to this writing? Is this line going to entice somebody to read the next line? And being really thoughtful about that and getting into that habit and learning what good writing sounds like is really, really important. So there are a million resources out there for effective copywriting. Nothing beats practice. Reading a lot, writing a lot. And it just takes time. It's like any other muscle. You're not going to go out and run a 6-minute mile today if you've never run before. But if you go out every day, commit to it, you start just by walking around the block, over time you'll get to that goal. So you just have to start somewhere.
Yeah, building on that. So, Lao Tzu has the famous quote that 1,000-mile journey begins with your first step. And I love that, and because it seems so daunting to begin this, and
Right.
so why don't we have that be the final question here, Kyle? I'm going to ask you, if I'm a sales rep and I really want to do this, but I've been procrastinating, what's the first thing that I can do to kick myself in the pants.
Get an accountability buddy. Get somebody inside your company or outside your company who has similar aspirations and similar reservations, and hold each other accountable
I love
in
that.
a couple different ways. One, shake hands, say, yes, we're doing this together. Okay, cool. Two, set real goals, real meaningful goals. You do not need to post something every single day on LinkedIn. That you don't have to do it. Once a week is fine. Start there and get over some of the anxiety that you may have about sharing your thoughts publicly by having your partner in crime here review your stuff before you post it, give you notes, give you feedback, read things, and then say, does it flow right? Are you being clear about what you're trying to communicate? And just work together to do it. It's hard to do alone. If you have somebody who can be an accountability partner for you, you're going to be more successful, and your content is probably going to improve as a result. It slows things down a little bit, but it's intentional that it slows things down. It'll give you more confidence that what you're writing is worth reading. And so that would be my advice to start. Find somebody that you trust, that you respect, and go tackle it together.
I love that. I've never heard that before, the accountability buddy. I love that.
I think I took that from a South Park episode. So inspiration comes from everywhere.
Even better, Cartman. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Kyle, any final thoughts? This has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think we've said it all. So it's been a pleasure, Chip.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. And thanks to all of you for tuning into Closing Time. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Make sure you tick subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any episodes. And we'll see you next time.